Welcome again to the International Touring Car Championship. Well, the ITC tracks are certainly varied. After the dockside at Helsinki and the Nuremberg Stadium, we've come to a working German Air Force base near Hanover at Diepholz. At the last event at the Norris Ring, we saw total domination from the Opels of Klaus Ludwig and Uwe Altzen. They finished first and second in both races. There was disappointment for the British drivers, though, when Dario Franchitti and Oliver Gavin both tried to use the same piece of track. It hasn't gone well for Mercedes this season. They haven't won since Jörg van Ommen's victory at the Nürburgring in race 3. We're now up to races 11 and 12, and they desperately need points to catch the runaway leader Manuel Reuter in his black Opel. But today at Diepholz, Mercedes have hit back. Scotland's Dario Franchitti was second quickest in qualifying, and on pole is his AMG teammate, last year's champion Bernd Schneider.
It's a good present for my team that they worked so hard to get back on the grid in the first position, and I'm very happy that we are now back in the field.
Two Alphas on row 2, led by Gabriele Tarquini.
In some circuits, maybe the potential of our car is stronger than the Mercedes, but in this track, I think the speed on the street, the Mercedes is so important, and so maybe on dry condition, it's really difficult to beat the Mercedes.
Two Opels on row 3, led by Hans Stuck.
Yes, you could see that the Norris Ring, I had a tough time to overtake the Mercedes because they have some more speed on the straight, and we're a little bit better on the braking acceleration, but once they pass you on the straight, then you can't get by them, So it's very difficult in the moment. Everything is very close, and most of the time you have to wait for someone's mistake to be able to pass them.
The wide expanses of the Diepholz runway dwarfing this rolling start. Two Mercedes at the front, then two Alphas, then two Opels. The lights are green as they come over the start-finish line. It's Dario Franchitti on the left of your picture, Bernd Schneider on the right, and they're side by side as they go down to the first corner, but it's a left-hander and Schneider goes ahead. Schneider leads, Franchitti is second. Tarquini and Fisichella in the Alphas are third and fourth. JJ Leto just ahead of Hans Stuck in 5th and 6th places in the two Rosberg Opels. That looks like Bartel's Alpha coming into the picture in 7th place as they go into the first of the tight chicanes here. Schneider leading Franchitti, Tarquini, Fisichella, Leto, Stuck and Bartels. They all stream through. That is the tighter of the two chicanes on this circuit before they get onto the back section down now to the tight left-hander, and as they go onto the big main runway again, there is the very fast chicane with the Mercedes right over on the right of the road. As they then flick through this chicane, it's just a brief lift. Very, very fast indeed as they swoop from one side of the runway to the other, about 135, 140 miles an hour through there, and then into their second lap with Schneider and Franchitti moving away from Tarquini and Fisichella, who are very, very close indeed. Tarquini and Fisichella both in Alphas, of course, but driving for different teams. Tarquini in the JAS car, Fisichella in the Alpha Corse car, and then behind them the two Rosberg Opels. You can see the yellow line of paint on the front of Fisichella's car. Now, this is a circuit that is very hard on brakes, just like the Norris Ring was the last ITC round, and the Alpha brakes tended not to last the distance. Now, they've put new cooling ducts on these Alphas to try to keep the brakes cool, and they need to brake very hard from about 160 miles an hour at the end of the long straight. That's that fast chicane there, which needs great accuracy as the cars slide all the way over to the left of the road. And that's Sandy Grau. Sandy Grau spun his Mercedes on the slow left-hander before that fast chicane, and I think he was tapped. Look at it again. Jason Watt in the white Alpha just gave Sandy Grau a little tap up the boot, and that was enough to spin him round. So, two Mercedes, two Alphas, two Opels in the top 6, with Schneider and Franchitti moving ahead. And as we watch the two Opels, Hans Stuck has gone ahead of JJ Leto in those two Rosberg cars, and tremendous performance by Stefano Modena. He's in the Alpha, the red Alpha behind those two Opels. He started 17th, and he's now in 7th place, and he's closing on 6th man JJ Leto. So the Alfa's really showing well here. Alessandro Nannini is 8th. Michael Bartels is 9th. So Alfa's 7th, 8th and 9th, as well as 3rd and 4th. But Stefano Modena is absolutely storming along here. And another spin, that's Magnussen. And he's not happy at all. He's furious. Puts the power down after a complete 360, and that's what's happened. He was hit by Uwe Altsson in the yellow Opel. Uwe Altsson, the bad boy of ITC. That's not the first time he's punted another car into touch. But now the speed of Modena continues to impress. He's passed Leto. He's now on Hans Stuck's tail. Stuck makes a little mistake. Gets a little bit late on the brakes. Goes wide on that left-hander. Modena's through. Modena, having passed Leto, has now passed Stuck. Modena started 17th, and he's now in 5th place. Both of them, of course, ex-Formula One drivers, Modena and Stuck, but Modena really flying today. And we see it again, and it's all about braking. Both of these cars have four-wheel drive. They get the traction on as they come out of the corner, but a little bit of a mistake by Stuck sent him wide, and that was all that Stefano Modena needed. And he's now moving away from Hans Stuck. We've got Alfa Romeos in 3rd, 4th and 5th places. Still Mercedes 1st and 2nd. And Opels now being somewhat humbled. Stuck 6th, Leto 7th, and then 2 more Alfas behind Leto. So the pressure on the Opels today, they don't really seem to be able to get to grips with this curious airfield circuit quite as well as the Alfas. We ride now with Klaus Ludwig in the Zakspeed Opel. He's got an Alfa in front of him. It's the orange one. That means it's Michael Bartels. And now as we go up to this quick chicane, if you listen to the engine note, it's just a brief lift. About 135 miles an hour through there. It's very, very quick indeed. And now the battle between the two Alfas further ahead, because ahead now of Tarquini is Fisichella. Fisichella leads Tarquini through the tighter of the two chicanes. So the Spielfilm car is ahead of the JAS car, and he's tucked in behind is Tarquini. He's going to have another go down the inside. Tarquini comes down into the left-hander, leaves his braking late, takes the tight line and is through. He's going to go wide coming out. He does, but he's still there on the power going into the quick chicane now. And he just managed to take that tight inside line. It's all about braking here at Diepholz. As into the pits now comes Klaus Ludwig, and that looks pretty serious. I would think he's out. Schneider and Franchitti comfortable out in front. You can see a lot of tyre debris on this circuit, a lot of rubber put down, but Schneider quite comfortable now in the lead. His lead defended by his own teammate Dario Franchitti in second place, and that's Larini over the curve. Nicola Larini, broadside, does 180 degrees, is nudged by Uwe Altsson, but I think this time we can't say it was Altsson's fault, but that has allowed Dana and Magnussen and Oliver Gavin to go past. So Dana, Magnussen and Gavin fighting over the midfield places there. Oliver Gavin trying to hold on, but it's Jan Magnussen who's putting the pressure after that spin onto Christian Dana. Alfa, Mercedes and Opel running together. We have all 3 mates there that are campaigning in the International Touring Car Championship, but there in the pits is Nicola Larini telling the Alfa team all about his problems. Once more, Nicola Larini's race ends. It hasn't been a happy year for him in ITC. This entertaining midfield battle goes on. Christian Dana's Alfa, Jan Magnussen's Mercedes, Oliver Gavin in the Opel, with Jan Magnussen, I'm delighted to say, showing no ill effects from that horrifying accident that he had in the last ITC race at the Norris Ring, and he's pushing Dana very hard. Remember, he's making up time after being punted into a spin earlier on by Uwe Altsson. And here's the battle further on, because Modena is up to 4th now. Tarquini slipped to 5th, and Tarquini's being challenged very hard by Hans Stuck. Hans Stuck gets on the inside of Tarquini on the left hand. Tarquini fights back. They're side by side as they go to that fast chicane, but Stuck moves ahead, and Tarquini's offline. Tarquini's off. Oh, Tarquini has a huge accident. He's still in the car, and he's got the door open. He's moving. I think Tarquini is, yes, he's getting out. What a huge accident. Tarquini jogs to the side of the track, climbs over the barriers. He looks pretty much unhurt, but he must be shaken. He's having a little lie down, is Gabriele Tarquini. And there the Alfa team, Giorgio Pianta, looking none too pleased. But let's see it again. He misses the chicane, goes over the curb, out of control, straight into the barriers. The barriers do a wonderful job of stopping that car, which must be to the relief of the photographers who were standing right by the barrier. The car briefly caught fire, but then the fire seemed to blow itself out again as the car disintegrated, cartwheeled, and finally landed on its wheels. A miraculous escape. And what I think that does also indicate is that these cars are extremely strong. The central passenger cell seems to have saved Gabriele Tarquini from serious injury. But not surprisingly, there's a red flag. They're going to stop the race. They're going to stop the race because the remains, the shattered remains of Tarquini's car are right on the exit of that chicane. So as Stuck and Nannini and Leto drive slowly past the red flag, that's the end of race one. Look at that roll cage. It's completely intact on Tarquini's car. And there's the winner. Bernd Schneider wins race one here at Deep Holtz, congratulated by Norbert Haug of Mercedes. It hasn't been a good year in ITC so far for the Silver Arrows, but first and second, you can't improve on that. Alfa's third and fourth, but the happiest man of all is Bernd Schneider.
My colleague, Dario Franchitti, was very hard, especially in the beginning. But anyway, I'm very happy. I'm happy for Mercedes-Benz and happy for myself to be back on the podium.
Dario Franchitti's happy with second place, but he's looking forward to race two.
Yeah, I'm going to challenge a bit harder in that race. You know, we were very cautious at the start, both of us, and I think it'll be a bit more of a fight next race.
And we'll be back with that next race in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to Deep Holtz, and for race two, Uwe Alsen must start from the pit lanes, a punishment for hitting Magnussen and Reuter in race one. But I'm happy to say Gabriele Tarquini was completely unhurt in that immense accident. So to the rolling start, two Mercedes on the front row, Schneider and Franchitti, then two Alfa Romeos, Fisichella and Modena, then Hans Stuck and Alessandro Nannini. They come up towards the red light, up to the start line, with all of them jockeying for position, with Schneider on the right of these two Mercedes in your picture. The lights go green, and on the left it's Dario Franchitti. Schneider easing ahead, Franchitti going round the outside, and Franchitti's going down, leaving his braking very late. Franchitti leads. Dario Franchitti takes the lead from Bernd Schneider. Stefano Modena, an amazing start. He was briefly third, but then he went wide. Now it's Fisichella leading the Alfas, but Hans Stuck is challenging. Hans Stuck goes down the inside of Fisichella. It's now Hans Stuck third. The Alfas are side by side behind. Modena has nudged Fisichella. Fisichella's off. Fisichella takes Bartels with him, and that's Nannini coming through. So Alessandro Nannini comes off best from the Dodge cars among the Alfas. The two Mercedes moving away with Scotland's Dario Franchitti leading, Bernd Schneider in second place, Hans Stuck third. Then it's Nannini and Modena and Van Ommen in sixth place in his Mercedes. Yannick Dalmas, Alex Wurz, and side by side, Wurz and Dalmas. Dalmas elbows his way ahead as they go through the fast chicane. That's such a tricky place. Jan Magnussen alongside Wurz. They touch. Wurz up in the air, and Manuel Reuter goes alongside him and passes. Jockeying for position. This is typical ITC lap one Dodgers. Oliver Gavin there in the picture now, chasing Reuter with the white and blue Opel. And meanwhile, Dario Franchitti continues to lead, but this jockeying for position goes on. And here are the Alfas again. Fisichella 14 is hit by Modena 9 into 10 Bartels, and Alessandro Nannini comes off best in the red and white Alfa. And here's Magnussen and Wurz, and they're side by side, elbowing each other through the chicane. Into the pits now comes Klaus Ludwig. So once more, he is out of luck with the Zakspeed Opel. Still Bernd Schneider chasing Dario Franchitti. The two Silver Arrows moving away from the rest of the field. Dario Franchitti continuing to lead, but Schneider tucked into his slipstream, and I think looking to make a little bit of a challenge as they come out of the fast chicane. down to the left-hander. You can see the nose of the Mercedes dipping as Dario Franchitti hits the brakes, bouncing over those bumps there. And Franchitti, the fastest lap so far, but he's being really threatened now by the car with the yellow mirrors. That's number 1, Schneider, and into the pits, the white Mercedes. That's Jan Magnussen, who is not having a happy day. And while Magnussen's in the pits, we've got a change of position, because somewhere, we didn't see it, but into the lead goes the Silver Arrow number 1. Bernd Schneider leads. Dario Franchitti demoted to second place, and Kirk Tim spins the black Mercedes. Somehow everybody squeezes by as J.J. Lehto's car is pushed away into the pits. So the battle between Oliver Gavin and Alex Wurz, there it is. Alex Wurz on Oliver Gavin's tail. They're battling for 9th place, and there's just a cigarette paper between them as Wurz has a look at the inside. Can't do it because Gavin leaves his braking too late as they go into the tighter of the 2 chicanes. On the power again, and meanwhile, Modena has passed Stuck. That's Stefano Modena ahead of Stuck now. Stefano Modena is absolutely flying in that Alfa. Mercedes 1 and 2. Alfa Romeo now 3rd for Stefano Modena. Hans Stuck pushed down to 4th. Bernd Schneider easing away. You can see he's almost 2 seconds ahead of Dario Franchitti now. And they're the two of them 5 seconds clear of Modena. Modena holding off Stuck. Then it's Alessandro Nannini in his Alfa, and Van Ommen's Mercedes is in 6th place. But rather as we expected, the 2-wheel drive Mercedes, not at home on the tightest and twistiest circuits, but they're very, very quick in a straight line. Speeds nudging over 160 miles an hour here. There is Modena in 3rd place. Hans Stuck in 4th, waiting for Modena to make a mistake. Further back, we've got Opels, 4 of them from 7th to 10th place, with Oliver Gavin still holding off Wurz by just a minimum. Then with Bartels and Altson in 11th and 12th places. Stefano Modena really speeding, but there's an Alfa in trouble. That's Christian Danner's Alfa. Christian Danner slowing. We're on board with Ellen Law, the only girl in ITC, with Bernd Schneider, the leader, approaching to lap her, and you can see in a straight line he's able to hold her off, but it's when she gets on the brakes for the corner that's to come, the left-hander, she's keeping over on the right-hand side of the road, and past goes the race leader as Ellen Law works away through that left-hander. Another car, another Alfa slowing. This is Nannini. Alessandro Nannini has slowed right down. Oliver Gavin swallowing him up as Wurz pushes Oliver Gavin through the chicane. The 2 young Opel hot shoes battling on, and that Alfa is retiring, I think. So Giorgio Pianta, there he is, not at all happy in the Alfa pit. A real battle now for 5th place, because the black Mercedes of Jorg van Ommen, which is 5th, has been caught by the black Opel of championship leader Manuel Reuter, who started 10th on this 2nd grid, and he's worked his way up to 6th. He's pushing Van Ommen fast. The caption shows their maximum speeds. Mercedes quickest, 261 kilometers per hour down the straight. That's about 162 miles an hour. And still Van Ommen holding off the Opel. The Opel's quicker through the chicanes, but that Mercedes has a lot of steam down the straights. Just 76 hundredths of a second between them as they come through the tighter of the chicanes. 1.5 seconds between Reuter and Dalmas. 4.3 seconds between Dalmas, who's 7th, and Wurz, who's 8th. And Wurz is ahead of Gavin. There, the caption tells the story. Gavin has now been passed by Alex Wurz in that battle. There they go, with Gavin bouncing around in the braking area, but Wurz easing away in the Joest Opel with its bright new paintwork for this race. Still those Silver Arrows leading, with Bernd Schneider ahead of Dario Franchitti. Still the astonishing Stefano Modena in 3rd place. Remember, he started the first race today in spot on the grid, carved his way up, and is in 3rd place today. Once again, the Alfas, several of them, have run into all sorts of problems, but Stefano Modena seems to have been able to keep clear of those as Bernd Schneider goes through that fast chicane, such a controversial chicane here. Norbert Haug watching the progress of his 2 boys there from the pits. There was discussion during practice about removing that chicane altogether, but ironically it's the Alfa Romeo team who voted for it to be retained, and it was of course one of their cars with Gabriele Tarquini on board that had that huge accident in the first race. And now on the final lap, Bernd Schneider 2.7 seconds ahead of Dario Franchitti, and Stefano Modena still not far behind, about 6.2 seconds behind Dario Franchitti. Stuck for Opel fourth, then Van Ommen holding off Manuel Reuter. Van Ommen still fifth, Manuel Reuter still in the points in sixth place, but striving to get abreast and past that black Mercedes on the final lap, as here comes the first of the two Silver Arrows, Mercedes 1 and 2, coming into that chicane for the last time, using every inch of the road, powering out of the final left-hander of the chicane, and towards the checkered flag, which waves for Bernd Schneider. A great 1-2 for Mercedes. Bernd Schneider wins. Dario Franchitti is second. There's the Alfa Romeo of Stefano Modena in third place, and there Hans Stuck is fourth. Van Ommen is fifth, Reuter is sixth. Delight from Norbert Haug and the rest of the Mercedes team. A great day for them, first, second and fifth. The two Silver Arrows, 1 and 2. Bernd Schneider there on the right, Dario Franchitti on the left. Two first places, 2 seconds in one afternoon, and of course both British drivers have finished, because in ninth place for Opel it's Oliver Gavin, but in second place for Mercedes it's Dario Franchitti.
Yeah, delighted to see Mercedes up the front again. Everything was really good today. The car was fantastic, and you know, I did my job, but Bernd was a little bit quicker. It's a good result for us, the mechanics, and I'm pretty delighted.
So, as the ITC Championship approaches its halfway point, Manuel Reuter still has a big lead, but those Mercedes drivers in third and fourth places are creeping closer. Now, the next ITC round is our own event, to give British fans a chance to drink in the sights and sounds of these mighty machines. For Dario Franchitti and Oliver Gavin, it'll be their one race this year in front of their home crowd at Silverstone.
The home race, you know, you always look forward to racing at home. Same with Donington last year, but you treat every race the same. You know, you've got to go out there and try and win each race, but it'd be nice, especially nice to win at home.
What about this guy sitting next to you? Is he going to be a threat, you think?
Yeah, always.
What about you, Ollie? How are you going to do?
Well, I think that the circuit now has changed to suit the Opel a little bit more, but I think without a little bit of wet weather assistance, I think the Mercedes are going to be very, very strong here.
We'll be back later in the year to see how our two young chargers get on at Silverstone, and in the other great battles to come.